Every month I come here and I hear the same thing: social emotional health. If you truly mean that, you would end the mask requirement tonight. This is not March 2020 anymore. We have 3 vaccines. Every adult in the state of Georgia that wants that vaccine is eligible to get it right now, and every one of us knows that young children are not affected by this virus. My 6-year-old looks at me every month before I come here and she says, "Are you going to tell them tonight? Tell them I don't want to wear this anymore." And I say, "Baby, it's not time to fight that battle yet." I try to explain that there's so many things, but it's April 15th, 2021, and it's time. Take these masks off of my child.
Admit it, you've thought it, we've all thought it, and that is a powerful message coming from a Georgia mom. She was talking to the Gwinnett County Board of Education there. Her name is Courtney Ann Taylor, and she says her family has had enough with mask mandates, and she demanded the district end its policy immediately. Taylor also said Georgians voted for 5 school board members, not the CDC, to tell them what to do. Let's welcome in our panel today to talk more about this. Back with us, Stacy Washington, host of Stacy on the Right on Sirius XM. She's also co-chair of Project 21. Erin Elmore is back, a Republican strategist and a Turning Point USA contributor. And Patrice Leon-Wuka is with us today on this Friday. She's the director of the Center for Economic Opportunity at the Independent Women's Forum. Ladies, great to have you all with us today.
Good to be here. Thank you.
All right, so who wants, if we all could, it's hard because of our situation, but who would love to just stand up and give a round of applause to that mom? Erin, your thoughts when you heard her deliver that message?
Amen. That was so emotional. As a parent, I see our children struggling. She's luckily in a state of Georgia where her kids are in school, but what about these children that have been out of school for over a year? And we have these leftist crazy people who are pushing pronouns and genders and racism on our children. All our children want is human interaction. Let's teach our children how to read. Let's teach our children math, science. Let them learn how to tie their shoes, say hello to each other, look each other in the eyes, instead of being so woke in virtue signaling for these masks. Our children are not pawns, and our classrooms are not political. Enough with the children. Let's get them back in the classroom. Let's get these masks off their faces. This woman is a rock star. She should run for office.
You know, Patrice, it is interesting to hear about, hear Jen Psaki this week up at the podium talking about how they're going to electrify all of America's school buses and all this stuff when kids aren't even going to school yet. Talk about putting the cart before the horse.
Well, exactly. I mean, how many Black and brown children are a year behind in their learning and will not be able to catch up? That's really what the Biden administration should be focused on. Pushing the teachers' unions, which have been holding our children's education hostage, frankly, for the past year so that they could get their wish list of demands. But I'm really proud of this mom, and I think she represents so many parents who are finally paying attention to what goes on in their school systems. Parents are taking note, they're fighting back, and they're taking back control, and they're recognizing, wow, this is what my kids are learning. Critical race theory is what my kids are learning. To hate their race and to hate each other is what they're learning. And even more, my kids can't be in school as normal when, as has been rightly said, this virus does not affect children the same way it affects adults.
Yeah, Stacy, there was a report earlier this week, actually, I'm sorry, it was back in February, that talked about just the state of New Mexico alone had something like 12,000, and this was back in February, 12,000 missing students that weren't showing up to class, they weren't going to virtual classes. I mean, again, I think we're looking at a second lost year here, and that's why this mom's pleas are so important, because she wants things to get back to normal for her kids in Gwinnett County, Georgia, and I think that's the position of all parents right now. This is one of those issues that I think just cuts right across partisan lines if you're a parent.
Well, so John, my issue with this whole thing is that she makes a rant at a school board meeting and we're all saying she's a rock star. And I agree with her statements wholeheartedly, but it's been a year, a whole school year. So parents, you have one parent making a statement and everyone thinks she's so brave, but every one of the kids in a school district that aren't going to school has a parent or two or a grandparent, some caregiver or guardian that they're living with. Where are they? Where are the parents of America, regardless of partisanship, standing up for their kids' rights? So there should be thousands of videos like this. It should be actually de rigueur. Every school board meeting, it should be packed out where there's standing room only and parents demanding their kids are back in the classroom, that the masks are off, that we get rid of the CRT. that stop indoctrinating kids into thinking they're either oppressors or victims. All of this stuff is going on right under our noses, and we're still driving to and fro, going on vacations, working, doing the things that, obviously you have every right to do, but our kids are languishing. So for parents whose kids are in school, fantastic, but why are they still masked? And for parents whose kids are not in school, how are you sitting back and allowing that to still be the case 1 year in?
Yeah, we need more parents like this woman to stand up, Courtney Ann Taylor, and let their school boards know how they feel. All right, let's talk a little bit more about the Ma'Khia Bryant travesty, which is what it's become here. New body camera footage reveals what happened moments after Bryant was fatally shot by the officer in Columbus. The woman Bryant was attempting to stab is here on camera explaining what led up to the officer opening fire.
She came out at you with a knife earlier?
No, she just, that's what the police did.
That lady on the floor?
She came after me.
Of course, that's another perspective than what you're going to hear on NBC News, for example, from Lester Holt. He didn't want you to hear that part of it. Let's focus back and flash back to what he said about the need to show both sides of a story.
I think it's become clearer that fairness is overrated. The idea that we should always give two sides equal weight and merit does not reflect the world we find ourselves in. That the sun sets in the west is a fact. Any contrary view does not deserve our time or attention.
Well, he's right about that. The sun does set in the west. But Aaron, NBC got busted for editing out the knife comment in the 911 call. Also in the video, they cropped out the knife so no one could see it here. And Lester Holt told us this is what they were going to do. But my issue here is that NBC News is broadcast over the airwaves. It is supposed to be held to a different standard than cable news. But Lester Holt doesn't seem to be worried about this, saying this with impunity.
This is really terrifying because what did they do subsequent to it being known to us here at Newsmax? Do the American people realize what actually happened? That there are facts that NBC is not showing. They are changing the narrative and changing the story and shaping how Americans see the situation. And I really just want to know why. What is their end game? What do they want to do to us as a country, as a people? I believe that the police are people, of course, every group in America has a few bad actors, but the police largely are here to protect and serve and should be respected. We cannot do things like resist arrest. When someone says drop a knife, we shouldn't even have one, but we should drop it. We have to behave in civil society as civil human beings, and I do believe that the truth is meritorious and that the American people should be aware of what's going on in our society. And honestly, I don't understand what their end game is here, and it is truly terrifying.
Yeah, jumping to conclusions here, Patrice, without the answers. And, every day we learn more about this case and how much further away from the truth NBC News was.
Well, yeah, but to address Lester Holt specifically, it's unfortunate that an old guard journalist is now shifting, changing, really setting an example, laying out for future journalists and incoming journalists that it is no longer for them to set aside their bias. It is for them to actually go full force with their bias and how they report everything, and it's going to be accepted and expected. I mean, to me, the situation here with the shooting of this young woman is one thing, but the larger issue, which is now you have a legacy media saying, okay, it's no longer about being fair and in reporting the truth and reporting multiple sides of the same issue. It's about one perspective and one viewpoint. And that is what should be most alarming to our democracy and to our institutions and to freedom in this country.
We got about 45 seconds left here for Stacy.
Well, so it's pretty simple. They have a narrative, and they've just told you, Lester Holt just told all of us here in America that they're going to stick with the narrative, and if you want the truth, you'll have to dig it out for yourself. So I don't believe in Black degeneracy. I don't believe that Blacks knifing each other at the age of 16 in the suburbs is a part of our culture, quote unquote, as the Democrats believe. Mm-hmm. So it's up to us to prove that to be the lie.
Oh, yes. That was something else I learned this week from Democrats, that knife fights among teenagers, no big deal. We should just let them sort it all out. Or the teachers, as Joy Reid was saying, we should let the teachers intervene. but they're not even in school. So it's going to be hard for them to intervene in knife fights when they're not even in school yet. Anyway, Stacy, Aaron, Patrice, you guys stick around. We got our meme team coming up in about an hour. We got some great memes from these ladies today, including a little special one. I got a tribute to Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.